Valley. Okay, first part of the meeting is done. Second part begins, which is our speeches, the foundation of our meeting. And we have two speakers today, the first of which is Drew Chernoff. And Drew's giving his speech number 6 today from the Confident Communication Manual it's from the project called Vocal Variety. And where the objective includes using vocal volume, pitch, rate, quality to add meaning and value and interest to the message. Drew will be attempting to define how the individual isolated components of vocal variety can assist us in our speaking. And he'll use examples from a Shakespearean play and an American film. Drew Chernoff, Separate Units of Thought. Separate Units of Thought, Drew Chernoff.
That was such a great introduction, I don't even have to say anything. Okay, vocal variety. What are the components of vocal variety, and why, how can they help us improve our speaking? And let me give some examples. You have pitch, the highs and lows. You have volume, loud and soft. Dramatic pause. Diction, the selection of words. And timing, the rate that words come out. How do you put that all together to make an effective speech? What would a speech be like without vocal variety? Probably not very effective. Maybe even boring. Late in Shakespeare's play Hamlet, the central character, the young Prince Hamlet, finds the skull of the court jester, the comedian of the court with whom he grew up, someone who he was very close with. This is a real person to Hamlet. It's late in the play, he's been through a lot of tragedies, and this is Shakespeare's opportunity to reflect on the passage of time, the impermanence of everything in our lives, and the impermanence of everything we get attached to, and the inevitability of death. So Hamlet is talking to this skull, and he's with his close friend Horatio. And picture yourself holding part of the body of someone that you knew very well, and having a conversation with them many years later, and what that would mean. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him, Horatio. He was a fellow of infinite jest, of most excellent fancy. Great jokes. He had borne me on his back 1,000 times. And now, how bored in my imagination it is. My stomach rises at it. Here hung those lips. I have kissed I know not how oft. Where be your jokes now? Where be your jibes now? Your pranks, your gambols, your flashes of merriment that were wont to set the table at a roar, that made everybody laugh. Not one. Not one to mock your own grinning. Now get you to my lady's chamber and tell her she can paint an inch thick. Go to my mother's bedroom where she puts on her makeup. Hamlet's very angry at his mother at this point in the play, justifiably. Get you to my lady's chamber and tell her she can paint an inch thick. This is what she's going to wind up looking like. To this favor she must come. Okay, the components of vocal variety work beautifully with the internal structure of good communication. A good screenplay, good drama, good poetry, normal communication. The inherent internal structure. And I think that's because although we have words in a sentence, sentences in a paragraph, and the paragraphs add up to the complete argument, as speakers, as readers, we break down the individual components. They're individual thoughts with individual personalities. And so vocal variety, high and low pitch, volume, allow us to differentiate these and make for effective speeches. Again, separate personalities, individual thoughts, the tools of vocal variety. Okay, another example of vocal variety from the film On the Waterfront. It's a favorite film of mine, 1954. It won 8 Academy Awards, including Best Screenplay. This is a film set on the New York City docks and portrayed the control of the honest dock workers by a corrupt mafia-like mob that's controlling everything for profit and murdering anyone who gets in their way. what develops in the narrative of the film are a series of subpoenas that try to get the honest dock workers to come into court. Before anyone can get into court, the guy's murdered, so he doesn't show up. In this climatic scene of the film, one of the good guys, who is close with the neighborhood Catholic priest and has been consulting with the priest, is murdered by the bad guys when they drop heavy cargo on him while he is unloading the ship, and they try to make it look like an accident. The priest, Father Barry, comes down to the murder scene, to the hull of the ship, where there's about 100 people, dock workers, hanging around. And the body of K.O. Dugan is lying on a board, and there's a tarpaulin over him. I came down here to keep a promise. I told K.O. Dugan if he stood up to the mob, I'd stand up with him. All the way. And now K.O. Dugan is dead. He was one of those guys who had the gift for getting up, but they fixed him. Yeah, they fixed him for good this time. Unless it was an accident, like Big Mac said. Some people think the crucifixion only took place on Calvary. Taking Joey Doyle's life because he was thinking of testifying is a crucifixion. And dropping a sling on K.O. Dugan because he was ready to spill his guts tomorrow, that's a crucifixion. And every time the mob puts pressure on a good man, tries to stop him from doing his duty as a citizen, it's a crucifixion. And anybody who sits around and does nothing shares the guilt of it just as much as the Roman soldier who pierced the flesh of our Lord. Go back to your church, Father. Boys, this is my church. And if you don't think Christ is down here on the waterfront, you got another guest coming. Separate units of thought, individual ideas, utilizing the skills of vocal variety.